all the things that bring human beings pleasure.
Yes.
We have got to stop this
Thank
shit.
you. Yes.
And stop it now. Too many damn people enjoying their life, enjoying their food. They're just, they're enjoying their family. All the things that bring human beings pleasure. Damn it, we're going to stop this shit in its tracks because we can't have happy people. Everybody needs to be a little bit more depressed, have a little bit more anxiety. Let's just define you with a disorder, right, according to research. But at the end of the day, my view is let people live their lives.
Sure.
All right. Welcome back to Safety Matters on the Safety World News Network. I'm joined by my co-host, Sean, wearing his Texas Means Business Longhorn orange shirt.
That's right, Russ.
Very nice.
Did you wear
that when you were in Brazil? Was that a big Brazilian, kind of like a big Brazilian thing?
Actually, I didn't. It was one of the first things I put back on when I got to the States in Texas because Texas means business. So,
yeah. Okay. Except when it comes to like being on the football field or
dang it.
basketball court. They don't mean as much business, but
cuts me deep.
It's okay. Okay, I understand. And we probably have a fairly large UT audience. So with that, we're going to cover the subject that we kind of ended the last episode on, and that was dealing with processed foods. We've kind of talked about this in the past, and there was another research study that came out. That came out about processed foods. I thought we'd just kind of jump right into it, and this is from the Wall Street Journal. The new science on what ultra-processed food does to your brain. Studies are finding links between these foods, and changes in the way we learn, remember, and feel. And so here we go. We're ready for the ride because we're going to talk about processed foods yet again.
Let's do it.
Processed foods. It never seems to end that we have more and more stuff going on in the world of processed foods. All right. Sean, you probably noticed this is the same color orange as your UT shirt. Let's kind of do a little scroll here. There you go. There you go, everybody. And here's the brain of a UT student / graduate, right there. You're looking at it. So check it out. Here we go. Ultra processed foods may not only affect your bodies, but our brains too. Now, all right, let me throw this at you, Sean, before we get hot and heavy here. What the hell is a ultra processed food?
That is this, when you think of like, it sounds like some new, awesome, more intense version of processed. I think it's meant to be in a negative connotation here, but to me it sounds kind of cool.
I asked the question because we brought this up a few episodes ago. What does processed food mean?
Yeah.
Well, it means it goes through a process. But what exactly does that mean? And so we're going to talk about that today because there's a new study. New research suggests links between ultra-processed foods such as chips, cereals, and most packaged snacks at the grocery store, and changes in the way we learn, remember, and feel. So what we're going to be talking about is if you consume a large quantity, and by the way, I didn't even talk about how much, but let's just say you're eating ultra processed foods, okay, in whatever level. It's going to change your life, change your health. These foods, according to the research, Sean, can act like addictive substances, researchers say. And some scientists are proposing a new mental health condition called ultra-processed food use disorder.
That's a mouthful.
We have a new disorder that's associated with ultra-processed foods. You happy with that?
No, honestly, this pisses me off.
We have a new medical condition called ultra-processed food disorder. Diets filled with such foods may raise the risk of mental health and sleep problems. Now, if you remember, we had a solution to that a few episodes ago. Remember the melatonin story?
Absolutely.
You have sleep problems. No, follow the bouncing ball. right? Because you know what's coming next. All these medical conditions like heart, right? Anxiety, depression. Everything's comes from everything. Remember the story we did, the episode we did about eating strawberries.
Oh yeah.
Eating strawberries can, save your life. You won't get dementia or whatever the hell it was. But now we're on to ultra processed foods. All right. So sleep problems. The science is still early, and researchers say there's a lot they don't know. Well, hell, yeah, they don't know. Not all ultra-processed foods are equal. Some scientists say adding that some might be good for you. A diet high in ultra-processed foods has been linked with obesity, type 2 diabetes, cancer, here we go, cardiovascular disease. But researchers are still figuring out exactly why beyond calorie counts and nutrient composition. So you see where this is going, Sean?
Oh, I do.
Ultra-processed foods, haven't defined that yet, not certain we ever get there, is really, really, really bad for you. It's addictive. Well, okay, let's be honest. Yeah, I mean, eating a bag of chips, it's hard to just eat a chip. Certain cereals, I mean, there's a lot of food that's addictive. I mean, I get that. But where this is going to end may surprise you.
All right.
Makers of foods such as processed meats and muffins defend their products and note that there isn't a consistent, universally accepted definition of ultra-processed food. In other words, we don't know what the term means, but we are going to connect the term. We're going to label a category of products, category of foods, as being ultra processed.
There we go.
And then we're going to say that these food groups that we've now renamed will lead to a disorder that you're going to have, and you won't be able to sleep. You're going to have obesity, heart problems, cardiovascular problems, depression, anxiety, can't sleep. You're just going to be one frickin' mess. Okay.
You start with that one chip, you're just going to unravel. All right.
Yep.
So just watch out.
Yep. And so here you go. There's no definition of ultra-processed food. Quote, the makers of America's trusted household brands are committed to protecting access to nutritious, affordable, convenient, and safe food, said a spokesman for the Consumer Brands Association, an industry trade group. Well, right off the bat, I'm suspicious of this guy. Trust us, our ultra-processed food is really not ultra-processed. It's actually pretty good for you. And we don't intend for our potato chips to be addictive. Like hell. That's the whole purpose, right? The whole purpose is to make your ultra-processed foods addictive.
So good, yeah. You want to,
yeah, because you sell more. Okay, just be honest. Don't hand me the BS.
Exactly.
You gotta throw the bullshit flag.
Absolutely. Yep.
Craving of ultra-processed foods. Many ultra-processed foods hit the brain rapidly when we eat them and have a strong effect on its reward system, which is involved in pleasure, motivation, and learning. Well, let's unpack that, Sean.
Yep.
You're going to throw down half a bag of Lay's potato chips, Fritos.
Oh, yeah.
My personal favorite is Doritos.
You're a Doritos guy?
So you're going to throw down some Doritos. Right?
Okay.
And according to the research, it's going to really, really affect your pleasure sensors, but it's going to also presumably negatively impact what they refer to as the motivation and learning centers. So what does that mean? Eating processed foods make you stupider? You can't learn? You're not motivated? Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you? Just what these researchers are claiming.
As it reads, what I took it as, you eat these chips, there's going to be a decrease in all of those cognitive functions. Your ability to experience motivation, your learning capacity, right? All of those things that probably everybody on the planet puts some level of value on. To me, it made it sound like it's pretty clear. You eat the chips that are ultra processed, they're going to have a negative impact on these brain functions that we all care about.
Okay. Well, and that's kind of what it says here.
Pleasure, the other one, yes.
That's fair. Eating junk food is not good for you. Got it. But eating any food, one could argue, may not be good for you, right?
True.
Don't eat meat. That's bad for you. I mean, where does it end? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's always some study that says pretty much everything we eat is bad for us, right? I mean, you can't avoid the bad stuff.
Absolutely.
But I understand ultra-processed foods are not necessarily good. So the study goes on to talk about those effects are similar, the effects being pleasure, motivation, learning. Well, the effects of eating ultra-processed foods are similar to ones when people use nicotine, alcohol, and other addictive drugs, says Ashley Gerhardt, a professor of psychology at the University of Michigan, who is a co-creator of a measure of food addiction. Quote, people intensely crave ultra-processed foods and consume them compulsively and find they can't stop eating them, she said. Oh, okay. You can say that about beer.
Yep.
Right? You can say that about a lot of things. You can say that about just about anything in life. Gambling.
Yeah, I was going to say TV,
There's addictions.
social media.
Social media.
Right.
Where does it end?
Yes.
Understood. There's addictions. They're real. I'm not minimizing that.
Right.
But somehow you see where this is going, Sean. You see where this is going. And where it's going is we have a new crisis, and the crisis needs to be studied, and the study needs to have more federal funding. And and it's what exactly is the crisis? People can't put the bag of chips down. Is that the crisis?
Mm-hmm. Well, even with that, like this article to me is the antithesis of you said a lot of meaningful information with a few amount of words. To me, this is a lot of words, not really shedding specific light on a whole lot, right? I mean, even I think on the second page, it said the studies are really early on. So you absolutely hit the nail on the head, which is there's a lack of specificity here, right? Okay, if there is truly a genuine risk associated with that, we accept that. We're curious about that. We want to know more about how we can improve our health. However, this level of reporting is, so baseline that some of the things that you're really drawing attention and fear, which, as we learned from the Fauci episode, people try to control people with fear, and I don't say that facetiously here. It's true. This level of information in this article is pretty minor to really make the claim that, you're going to get dumber or you're going to be, having nightmares, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole premise is based on research that is, again, I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. I mean, they go on, and there's a snack study. There's no snack study.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, I'm biting. The snack study. In a recent study published by the journal Cell Metabolism,
I hope we were able to get your that your reaction is priceless.
Okay, not certain who reads that, except organizations that are federally funded, of course.
Guys, the new issue's out.
in a recent study, again a study published by the Journal of Cell Metabolism, researchers primed participants with two different kinds of snacks and saw how their brains later responded to a cue for a high-fat, high-sugar food, which many ultra-processed foods are. Okay, got it. We're kind of sort of starting to define what an ultra-processed food is. High-fat, high-sugar. Mm-hmm. I probably have high carbs in there as well, but I don't want to go ahead and screw the study up. Scans of the participants' brains showed that the folks that ate high-fat, high-sugar snacks for 8 weeks had a much higher activity in parts of their brains that create dopamine, a neurotransmitter involved in motivation, learning, and expecting and experiencing rewards. When they saw a cue telling them to expect another high-sugar, high-fat food. So what we're learning is eating ultra-processed foods, which I guess means high-fat, high-sugar, tricks the brain to release more dopamine, which is the pleasure center, makes you feel really, really good, and you crave more food. Okay, well, I have one thing that I think is far more addictive. I don't know about a lot of research. In fact, I've never read any research on TikTok. Mm-hmm. Would you not consider TikTok to be an addictive? It's not a drug, but young people who cannot get off of TikTok, is that not an Am I missing something here?
No, I don't think so at all. I think TikTok shares all the same properties that they're suggesting here. And you mentioned you don't think it's a drug. I hear you. I actually think you could classify social media and TikTok as a drug, truly. And the reason is, if you look at a couple of, I guess, commonalities between addictions or stuff that people just do constantly that may lead to a negative consequence or is not perceived as good within society. I mean, you have people that are sucked into their phones, not aware of the, outside surroundings. But even beyond that, if you look at the science about what's happening in the brain when people are just watching videos for pleasure, it's like a dopamine overload, right? You're seeing all levels of stimulation, which I'm sure feels good. That's part of the reason people do it. But the question is it short-lived? Is it real? And the other thing too that we just looked at in the research in the new journal, which is this is kind of the opposite reaction from what the other research was saying. So one is saying that it decreases your ability to maybe learn and have, a mental performance jump. But this is actually saying because of the dopamine increase, you could be experiencing positive aspects. That's interesting, but it's also confusing. That's what happens with some of this research.
Well, and again, there you go, being logical again. Who's doing the research? Who's funding the research?
Sure.
Who's publishing the research? Who's reading the research? And which government agency is ultimately behind all of this in terms of funding, publishing, and on and on and on? Because at the end of the day, there's going to be some federal agency. I'm being just, call me a skeptic. There's going to be a federal agency behind all this that all of a sudden decides they're going to regulate what you eat.
Yeah.
Here come the food Nazis, right? Here come the food cops. And they're doing it for your own good. They're for your own good. Because you keep eating that junk food and you're going to get stupid. You're going to lose motivation. But it's okay if you want to sit behind the TV watching cable all day or Netflix. That's unaddictive.
They might own strawberry.
Yeah, that's right.
Too.
You want to be on social media all day. That's okay. No problem with that. But by golly, put the bag of Doritos down. Otherwise, we're gonna send in the food cops.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the study goes on. Scientists were surprised, Sean. They were shocked to find that people who had been eating the high-fat, high-sugar snack also had changes in how their brains learned. All right, now, I just got to take a pause here. How do you measure that?
Yep.
Say 25% of the participants were just low IQ people. They just weren't really good learners in general. I mean, how do you screen
for learning?
The learning process before you fed them all the ultra-processed food?
That's it. Great question. Could be applied in many ways.
How do you filter that? Explain it to me, Sean.
I don't have a reasonable guess here. I don't think you really can. I doubt they did. And if they did, they should definitely report to that because that's what the whole quality of this research and conclusions that they're making is built upon.
So let's talk about the sample.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Cheers.
Were they great learners? Were they high IQ people, low IQ people, people who had, ADD? Right? There's a lot of learning disorders. Did they take that into account? Meaning if you're on some medication for a learning disorder,
sure,
ADHD, and you combine that with the high fat, high sugar, intravenous injection of food, you become, more distracted. Again, how are these dots connected in the research? And of course, the study goes on. While participants were having their brains scanned, the researchers had them do a basic learning task, requiring them to push a button associated with a picture when they heard certain tones. When people who had been eating the high-fat, high-sugar snack didn't get the picture they expected, their brains showed greater activity in parts involved in evaluating situations. Okay? So let's leave that up on the screen.
Okay.
You feed people high-fat, high-sugar food.
Yep.
You have them do a I guess you'd call it an exam, a quiz on pushing a button associated with a picture, not certain what these pictures are. And when they do so, they hear a tone. There's an audio aspect to this, visual and audio. But here's the key. When people who had been eating the high-fat, high-sugar snack didn't get the picture they expected, their brain showed greater activity in parts involved in evaluating situations. So, okay, we all know that images can change people's behavior. If you're a far-left progressive liberal and I show you a picture of Donald Trump, you become enraged. If you're on the other end of the spectrum, you're a, right-wing conservative, and I show you a picture of AOC screaming about, how we need to get rid of your gas stove. They're triggering.
Yeah.
Understood. But here we are taking a subset of people that they studied, and you really are just making a lot of conclusions based on just bullshit. Not certain where this goes. Okay.
Insane.
And you notice they never mention. They talk about high fat, high sugar, but they exclude carbs.
Yeah.
Is that the definition of junk food? High carb, high sugar, high salt,
Yeah.
right? A lot of salt and carbs.
Yes.
What was the carbs? We just got the sugar and the fat. So, you have these, this research that's kind of going, where's it going? I don't even know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
But, and so the ultra-processed foods and mental health. Ultra-processed foods and mental health.
Yeah.
Mental health is now associated with processed foods. When did that happen?
That is quite a headline. Yeah.
I mean, when did that happen? So anyhow, mental health is affected by diet, of course. Several recent studies have found a link between diets high in ultra-processed foods and an increased risk of depression. You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Depression. All right, let's go. What else? We're going to find anxiety, right?
Yep.
Large review of research published last month in the journal BMJ, not certain what the hell that is, found an increased risk of depression, anxiety, sleep problems with diets high in ultra-processed foods. So remember, everything causes depression, everything causes anxiety, every problem we have is associated. What's the next study?
Yeah.
So it was, meat, because, there's a lot of folks that just hate us eating cows. Got to stop that. All right, I'm gonna be the total cynic. Okay, you ready for this, Sean?
Please, because I have a lot to say.
Let me be the total cynic. All the things that bring human beings pleasure.
Yes.
We have got to stop this
Thank
shit.
you. Yes.
And stop it now. Too many damn people enjoying their life, enjoying their food.
Yep.
They're just, they're enjoying their family.
Yep.
All the things that bring human beings pleasure. Damn it, we're going to stop this shit in its tracks because we can't have happy people. Everybody needs to be a little bit more depressed, have a little bit more anxiety. Yeah. Let's just define you with a disorder, right, according to research. But at the end of the day, my view is let people live their lives.
Sure.
Let people live their lives. If you want to go and eat a whole bag of Doritos, understanding it's not good for you, so be it. Sure. But don't tell me I got stupider or I'm somehow less motivated because I ate ultra-processed foods, which they don't even know how to define.
Right.
Don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
But what they want to do is connect dots that are not even capable of being connected.
I agree.
And they want to lead the American people, the American public, into believing nonsense. Now, again, everybody would agree. You would agree, Sean, that diet plays a big role in our bodies, right? I mean, our body's health, mental and physical, is obviously directed by food, and specifically the lack of food.
Yep.
All the studies that I've read that deal with, early childhood development is all about young children need to have an adequate supply of food because it's hard to learn when you go to school hungry.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Lack of food leads to learning problems, right?
I mean, I got to stop you right there, Russ. That's an amazing point you just made. Something that isn't covered in this, which is, let's look at, meals in school. A lot of them offer a bag of Dorito chips or a bag of Lay's as a supplement or something on the side of something. Well, eating something, having sustenance is far better for the brain than not having anything at all, which is also a reality that some people face.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll give you a good example. I'm with this guy right here. This is my guy.
There you go. Nice.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
that looks delicious.
Look at him.
Oh, my
Pounding down.
God. Oof.
Cheeseburger.
That's a messy one.
Probably
Look
got a
at that.
brewski there somewhere.
Yep.
Lots of food.
He looks pretty happy to me. I can't see. He looks pretty damn happy to me, though.
Yeah. I mean, really, doesn't this guy look happy?
Yeah.
Having a good meal.
Enjoying
Man,
a nice
the
steak.
last thing you want to do is say, "Hey, dude, you're just getting stupider."
Yeah.
As you eat that food, like we insult people for just enjoying a meal.
I think that's...
And again, I'm not here to tell you we need to eat Doritos. That should be your only diet.
Yes.
Processed food, whatever that means, is probably not good for you versus whole food.
Yeah.
But you know what, Sean? When's the last time you've been shopping? You've been to the supermarket recently?
Went earlier today. Yep.
Okay. If you want to buy healthy food, it's really expensive.
Oh yeah, it is. Very
You
expensive.
want to be real. You want to be healthy and eat healthy.
Very expensive.
I would say that there's probably a third to a half of the American public cannot afford or have access to healthy food.
Yeah.
I think most people have access to lower cost processed food.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the reality. Because if you want to make a fresh salmon salad tonight, that's going to take some time. It's going to take some money.
Right.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm sitting there saying there's a little snobbery here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kind of putting down. Let's put this guy down. This guy right here. Okay. This guy right here. Let's put him down because look at this idiot eating that cheeseburger. So there's a little snobbery, but there's also a lot of misrepresentation
Absolutely.
of the truth.
Yes.
And if this guy wants to eat his hamburger and have a bag of chips, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
So be it. That's my view. Let the man live his life.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think this article, this whole case that they're trying to make, I think is a bit insulting. It starts with, and I'd love to get your, understanding on what you consider quality research. What are the type of things that you want to see that would actually make you reconsider something? In this case, let's just quickly cover it, right? We don't know what ultra processed means. At no point in that article did it talk specifics around what exact snacks, what exact chips, what quantities. And that's crucial because, hey, if you're eating a relatively healthy diet and you enjoy a full bag of Dorito chips on a Friday, your brain is not going to suffer from cognitive decline. If you're eating potato chips 2 to 3 times a day, every single day, okay, hey, maybe we got a case. But in reality, who's eating that many snacks like that?
Look, it's just exactly. Now, note, they said high fat, high sugar.
Yeah.
How much is high?
Oh, absolutely.
How much fat is high?
Mm-hmm.
How much sugar is high? 9 grams, 10 grams, 100 grams? No definition.
I think
See, what they do is they make stuff up.
Yep.
They use words that imply a message, high fat. Well, how much fat are we talking about?
Absolutely.
There are some people that say don't eat any fat. If you ate a 4-ounce piece of steak, they would say that's the maximum amount of fat you should have in your daily allowable diet. Well, then you have other people that say, well, I went out and had a 12-ounce, T-bone tonight, and that had higher fat. But what's high fat, Sean? What's high sugar content? They don't tell you that, do they?
They don't. And I think that's a great point you make, which, especially when it comes to your diet, that's highly personal, and it depends on what type of eating program you're on. For whatever, not saying that you have to be dieting or not, but high fat for one person does not necessarily mean the high fat for another.
That's right.
Relative
That's
to
right.
your chemistry.
That's right. And so we never talk about carbs.
Yeah.
Never talk about carbs at all. And I would assume carbs are probably junk.
Yeah.
Right? The empty calories, as my wife will call them. And so the study goes on. Oh, yeah. Goes on. One of the main ways diet affects mental health is likely via what's known, Sean, as gut microbiome. You ever heard of that phrase?
I've heard it many a time.
Okay, well, Felicia Jacka, wait for it, director of the Food and Mood Center. Okay, Food and Mood Center at Deakin University in Australia. Have you ever heard of the Food and Mood Center?
Never in my life, but it rhymes, which is always a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, what do they do?
Yeah.
But long story short, they've got some opinions. And so Felicia at the Food and Mood Center said the gut microbiome refers to the microbes that live in the digestive tract, which, oh, okay, got it. That's a fact. It influences immune function, the stress response system, and the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin, all of which affect mental health. Jacka added. And you know what? Okay, let's kind of go with that. Okay, I'm with you. Eating a typical American diet. Ooh. Hey, Sean, what the hell is a typical American diet?
Yeah, I skipped ahead.
Where are we going with that?
That
What's a typical American diet?
That does mean nothing to me. I don't know. A typical American diet is wide ranging. It covers a lot of things.
Okay, are we talking about Asian Americans?
Sure.
African Americans?
Sure, yeah.
Hispanic Americans?
Yep.
What Americans are we talking
That's
about?
a great
There's so many different diets and cultures in our country.
Yep.
So what is the typical American diet? See, they're using buzzwords, undefined,
100%.
to lead you emotionally
Yep.
to believe a crock of shit.
That's incredibly insulting. And not to be offended, but like, are you kidding me? A typical American diet? Can you write stuff like that? Like, whatever. It's not hurting anybody, but like, what the hell does that mean? It means nothing.
Well, she actually tells you what it means, and it actually gets more insulting. Okay, Felicia's here to tell you that eating a typical American diet, which is full of ultra-processed foods, that's what a typical American diet is. The typical American eats a full diet of ultra-processed foods. That's what she's saying. Which, of course, can change, not will, but can change your microbiome so that it's less diverse, not certain what the hell that means, and has fewer types of beneficial bacteria, says Apanya Gupta, okay, co-director of the Goodman-Luskin Microbiome Center at the University of California, Los Angeles. So what we've heard is the typical American diet is full of ultra-processed food. Not certain what ultra-processed food is. Didn't talk about carbs. We talked only about sugar and fat. Didn't set any levels, 9 grams, 10 grams, 11 grams. But the entire conclusion by 3 research centers, including the Mood Center, concludes that ultra-processed foods really wreak havoc with our immune system, our gut, our brain, right? Learning, motivation. But the typical American diet is filled with ultra-processed food. And you know what the conclusion is? You know what the conclusion is? You know what they're really saying? What are they saying?
They're saying you eat this crappy diet and your body's not going to be strong enough to basically you're going to have a weaker
No, it's
immune
actually
system.
more insulting. The typical American's a dumbass. That's what they're saying. You stupid Americans. Because they're calling typical Americans, people that eat ultra-processed food. Follow where I'm going.
Yeah.
The typical American eats ultra-processed food. A lot of it.
Oh, and full of it.
Right, full of it.
It didn't say you just have ultra-processed. The typical American diet, that's full of ultra-processed food.
There it is.
The hell are you talking about?
Eating a typical American diet full of ultra-processed foods. Right? That's what they said, right? So you dumb Americans eating a diet full of ultra-processed food have all of these learning problems. Mm-hmm. You're stupid. You're not motivated, right? You can't sleep. Yeah. You have anxiety. You have depression. Yep. But the typical American is that person, that depressed, right? Anxious, insomnia. Just going down the list of insults. You stupid Americans, because you eat all this ultra-processed food, you're just a bunch of dumbasses. That's the conclusion from the Food Mood Center. Yeah. And you know what? How else do you parse this out?
I don't think that's...
How else do you parse this out?
I don't think that's crazy by any means, what you just said. I think that's ultimately what it's coming down to. They're belittling us as a country and a society for what they perceive to be our food choices, which has no basis. You see wide-ranging diets. You see some incredibly healthy people. You see people who may not be as health conscious, but listen, there's levels to this stuff. There's your health. There's your happiness. You get to choose. That's where this all starts. And to be honest, this is one of the most irresponsible levels of reporting I think I've ever seen. Now, granted, right? We're not talking about, life changing. Well, they're making it seem like we are actually talking about, life threatening things, but we're talking about eating a bag of potato chips, and you're coming down to the conclusion that we're going to be dumber, we're going to have more depression, live crappier lives, and that ultimately we're going to die of that existence because our microbiome or healthy bacteria in our body is now weakening because we're enjoying a bag of potato chips, and that's horseshit.
Yeah.
And I just,
That's a good way to put it.
I'm getting passionate about this, Russ, because the thing is, it's not just this article, okay? This is one of many articles that are written like this, that are lazy, that are irresponsible, that have the potential to be great and informative, but we have just become, in journaling, media journal, I don't know why it's like this, but it lacks sufficient logical conclusions based on research written in an entertaining way. That's ultimately what this needs to come down to. But this is the opposite to me, which is you've got faux data, you've got half-baked idea, you've got illogical conclusions, and on top of that, you're insulting a country that's highly responsible for a lot of food out there in the world itself. This is backwards.
Well, how about the abundance of food? Yeah, America has an abundance of food. Maybe that's what this is about. It's a piss off. They get all the food and we don't. They can eat food and it's cheap. You said when you went to Brazil, it was pretty cheap, right?
Yeah, it was. The dollar converted well there. So their currency is the real. So our U.S. dollar is basically take their currency times 5. So we have a 5x multiplier.
Hey, you know what? I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to have a typical American diet. I didn't know my typical diet was full of ultra processed food, and I don't know. I don't think I'm that stupid. I don't think I'm having any insomnia. I don't suffer from depression. And I respect that condition. Don't get me wrong. But what we find time and time again, and how many episodes do we do where there's some research by some presumably government-funded organization that points fingers at people like ourselves that just want to live our lives and insult us, want to control us, want to tell us what we can and can't do. And that somehow if we don't follow the researchers' instructions, well, it's just because we're a bunch of dumbasses. And I again, this is yet another example of what you called faux research. I thought that was a good answer, faux research, that there needs to be some pushback, and the mainstream media doesn't do it. They're the ones publishing this crap. That's who put this out. This was a Fox News story. And you sit there, and yet again, that's it. That's what the news media puts out there. Who is critiquing this crap? Sean, all we did, as we're getting out of this segment, is we read verbatim,
which is what I love,
the information that was put out by mainstream media. And we analyzed it. We slowly read the words. And you have to excuse me, Sean. I do eat a lot of ultra-processed food. So
What are you doing?
I can't read that fast. But we read the words and we concluded, as they did, that we're just a bunch of dumbasses that eat a lot of ultra-processed food, whatever that is. And again, what are you asking us? What are you asking me to do? Stop enjoying my life. That's what it always comes down to. It's we don't like you enjoying your life. We don't like you being happy. We don't like you being having any fulfillment in your life. We want you to be miserable, like us. That's what it is. These are miserable people that want everyone to be miserable, and they do so under the guise of science. And I just found it, as you did, insulting. So
absolutely, very aptly put. And to anyone watching, I know, Russ and I share the opinion that this is insulting, and I personally believe that it is. But I think there's a deeper level of stupidity in those who read these articles and take it at full face value without at least pushing, prodding, analyzing. Listen, I'm not saying we're wrong or right. I'm just saying, whenever we read something, and I do think reporting is getting more dubious these days, always ask, how do I know what they're saying is true? That you'll never regret asking.
That's right. Well, there's the problem, Sean. I mean, that's the problem, is how do you know what you read is true? And it's always cloaked in the same way. Research. There's researchers, studies, PhDs, the people that are really smart, really smart people. Let's just break this down. Really smart people say, well, you're stupid. That's always the conclusion. And it's always the nameless, faceless, government-funded PhDs who come out with bullshit, to affect our lives, usually negatively. Right? That's the sum of it. But you're right. How do we know who's telling the truth? And the answer is analyze. Be a critical thinker.
Yep.
Don't believe what you read. Analyze it. Read it for yourself. And so, anyhow, appreciate you putting up with me today, Sean.
Hey,
you got me all jazzed up, buddy. You know that?
Likewise.
Got me all jazzed up.
Appreciate you having me back, and you'll appreciate this on the topic of food. Coming from Brazil, they love their meats, their churrasca, so grilled meats to perfection. And we're talking about their meat heavy. Some folks may watch and may love meat. I love them all, chicken, steak, fish, all that good stuff. And they're incredibly healthy. And, it's not just because they eat meat. They enjoy meat. They don't feel guilt about it. It's a big part of their diet, but they also maintain a healthy lifestyle. So, I just say that again because you're allowed to make the choices you want. Different
no,
foods,
no. See that? No, you're not. See, that's what this is about. We want to make sure you do what we, the smarter people, think you should do. You're too stupid to make choices for yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't need that much meat. You don't need that much sugar. You don't need that much. We're going to tell you what you need. Yeah. And push back. Got to push back. And I guess that's the best way we could to end the segment is to say, people got to stand up. Read this stuff for what it is. It's propaganda. It's all designed to invoke fear.
Yes.
And control.
Yep.
That's it. Fear and control.
Yes.
And people that don't really spend the time to think through this stuff, well, they become vulnerable to the propaganda. Mm-hmm. And anyhow, Sean, that's going to end today's show. Appreciate you being with us today. Again,
it's great to be back. Looking forward to more.
And again, it's Safety World News, otherwise known as World Safety News. I kind of like both of those.
Yeah.
But take care. We will be back next week with another episode of Safety Matters. So until then, take care and go out and enjoy yourself. Have a nice meal. Get a bag of chips and relax.